Hi there folks, welcome into the Truck King YouTube channel. Have you got questions? Well, we've got answers, and right now I want to answer the internet's most burning questions about this vehicle, the 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Here on Truck King, we have reviewed a whole bunch of Ford Bronco Sport. So for this video, I'm doing something a little different. We just took all of the most popular questions that come up in the Google autocomplete section. These are the things that real people are actually typing into Google, and I'm gonna go down the list and do my best to answer every single one of them. So let's dive into it. Question number 1, can you flat tow the Ford Bronco Sport? So flat towing refers to actually pulling this vehicle with all 4 of its wheels on the road. This is something you commonly see behind full-size motorhomes. And the answer with the Bronco Sport is no, it cannot be flat towed. Question number 2, can the Ford Bronco Sport tow? And the short answer is yes, but let me dive into this. So if you go for the smaller inline 3 EcoBoost engine, you can tow 2,200 pounds. If you step up to the larger 2-liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost, you can tow 2,700 pounds. And in both cases, you need the optional tow package. Now, what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, that's not a lot of weight. You're talking about small utility trailers, some recreational vehicles, but it's just going to be, one ATV, one smaller side-by-side, one PWC. Recreational travel trailers, not really. Some of the tiniest little teardrops might fall into this category, but if you're thinking travel trailer, you probably want to go for a bigger vehicle than a Bronco Sport. And it feels natural right now when we're talking about towing to mention payload. So let's look at what it is here on this Heritage Edition model that we have today. I'll check the door jamb sticker, and right here we have 916 pounds of payload. Question 3, does the Bronco Sport have Apple Carplay? The answer is yes, and for 2025, it is now wireless Apple Carplay, and it is displayed on the standard 13.2-inch touchscreen. Question number 4 is the most common question that has been typed in about the Bronco Sport, and frankly, just about any new vehicle, and that is the Ford Bronco Sport reliable? And this is not as simple as a yes or a no, so let's dive a little deeper. I'm back in the office now. Let's dig into Bronco Sport reliability. Never an easy question to answer. I like to go to data on the NHTSA website. That is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and we'll see what it has to say about Bronco Sport reliability. So first of all, you can see here at the top of the screen, there's 7 recalls on the Bronco Sport, 1 investigation, and 52 complaints. Now, 52 complaints is actually pretty low compared to what I see on a lot of vehicles. Now, complaints can be about anything. We'll just go through a couple here. So this person says that their Bronco Sport is overheating, it's losing power, shakes at idle. That's not good. This person says the vehicle vibrated. The contact stated there was an abnormal white noise coming from the rear of the vehicle and smoke coming from under the hood. That's not good. No acceleration. Yeah. Loses power, no acceleration. So that's the thing with these complaints, is anyone can make them, but I do like to look through them and see if there's any trends. And it does seem here, that was for a recall. But yeah, it does seem here that there's a trend of powertrain issues. Now, there's quite a few here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Here's another one that says it malfunctioned. So then with some of the complaints in mind, let's go look at the recalls. There's 7 of them, which is pretty high as well. So first of all, the engine block heater may short circuit and cause a fire. That's only an issue if you live in a cold place, but if you do, then that's a problem. Next, this is a big one. Cracked fuel injector may leak and cause a fire. This is obviously a big deal. Ford says here the remedy is currently still under development. As an interim repair, there's a software update, but I do wonder what a software update can do. Maybe just dial back the compression a little bit so it saves the injector. I don't know. I'm be curious to find out. But yes, that's kind of a big one. That's a big deal. Rear camera image may not display. That's self-explanatory. Loss of drive power from undetected low battery. This might be what a lot of those people were complaining about, that the Bronco Sport will actually lose full power, but it doesn't know that its battery is going low. It should be able to tell when it has a low battery, but it's not telling owners, and then suddenly they lose overall power. That's no good. Yeah, there's the undetected low battery. A windshield wiper motor may fail, and then again back to this low battery. This is obviously a big deal because they're trying to figure it out, and there's been multiple recalls for the same thing. So that's not really great. Now let's take a look at this investigation. And again, it's all about those complaints talking about people losing motive power. That's sort of the most important part of a car, right? You press the gas pedal, it's supposed to go forward. If that doesn't happen, that is a big deal. So consumers reported a loss of engine power accompanied by complete electrical system failure, either while driving or stopping at a traffic light or stop sign. And again, commonly diagnosed as a failed 12-volt battery, but when this thing becomes so widespread, it's obviously more than just everybody's batteries failing all at the same time. So you can see they try to recall there. More complaints came in. Ford issued another recall. And then they expanded the recall. So for now, wow, and look how many associated documents there are. There's 7 different products associated with this investigation. This investigation does seem to be concluded, though, because as of January 19th, 2025, Ford says that the newest recall addressed the same hazard, but it required replacement of the existing battery with an AGM battery as the remedy, because Ford then said it evaluated several field return 12-volt and determined that the battery supplier had issues with its batteries. Interesting. Ford further concluded that the software updates provided in the recall remedy were unable to detect battery failures quickly enough to avoid loss of motive power. So basically, and here it says, yeah, when the first recall was issued, Ford had not identified that the batteries themselves were having failures. Does say, though, the agency will continue to monitor loss of motive power complaints in Bronco Sport vehicles with those batteries and reserves the right to take additional action. So for now, it seems like it's sorted out and it was that big battery issue, but the agency is saying, well, we'll keep an eye on it because there's a lot of complaints about that one same thing. And then finally, we get to 58 manufacturer communications. These are, common issues that come into the dealership, and this is what the tech can go look up, and it gives them at least a sense for what they're dealing with and where to start. TSBs can range from, here's the engine block heater system to issues with mechanical things or with technology things. They're all over the place. Here's talking about a code that may come up with an inoperative front or rear window switch. So yeah, all kinds of different things. And 58, again, is quite a few manufacturer communications. So I guess at the end of looking at these numbers, 7 recalls, 1 massive investigation, and a lot of complaints about loss of power, which is a pretty big one. I don't honestly feel too great about Ford Bronco Sport reliability, although Ford is obviously well aware of these issues and they are working on it. So if you do buy a Bronco Sport today, you should get a more well-ironed-out version than the one that's been on sale for the last couple of years. But yeah, just based on the NHTSA numbers, don't love it. Number 5, is the Ford Bronco Sport electric? No, it is not. There are no electrified powertrains for the Ford Bronco Sport as it is in 2025, but Ford has announced that it is working on some small electric trucks and crossovers in the future. So in the next few years, hey, maybe, but as of right now, no, this is not electric. Question number 6, what does the Ford Bronco Sport weigh? Of course, this is going to depend on which engine you get and which features you get, but you're talking about on the low end around 3,400 pounds, on the high end around 3,700 pounds. And if you want a simple solution on how to figure out what your vehicle weighs, what you want to do is take the GVWR, that's the gross vehicle weight rating, and subtract the payload number. Both of those numbers are going to be on stickers up there on your door jamb. So I'll do that math here. You're talking about a GVWR of 4,680 pounds. You subtract the 916 pounds of payload, and that tells me that this Bronco Sport right here weighs 3,764 pounds. Number 7, how much does the Ford Bronco Sport cost? Well, first I will start by telling you that this Bronco Sport, which is the Heritage Edition, fit with the 1.5 liter EcoBoost, it costs just a little over $47,000 here in Canada. But now let's dive into the rest of the range and I'll go through all the prices. Let's walk through pricing now, starting with here in Canada. So you can see here, 2025 Bronco Sport Big Bend starts at $41,190. Heritage at $45,190, Outer Banks $45,890, and then top of the line Badlands at $51,690. And the one other thing I will show you is within the Badlands model, if you were to go in and add the Sasquatch package, which is right there, that's going to bring you up to a total price of $56,335 for the Bronco Sport Sasquatch here in Canada. Now let's take a look in the States, and you can see here, like most vehicles, it's more affordable in America. The Big Bend starts at $31,695, Heritage at $33,995, Outer Banks at $36,795, and then also the Badlands at $41,115. And I'll do the same thing. Let's see what a Badlands Sasquatch would cost. So Badlands, we go down to Sasquatch. And that's with none of the other stuff added too. There are more options. I just wanted to see what a base Badlands Sasquatch is worth. And in America, you're talking about $43,195. That is after incentives though, so total actually $45,795. Next question, how does the Ford Bronco Sport drive? Well, let's go find out.
As far as driving manners, it drives like a car. It's based on a car. The Escape is the platform underneath. This is not an off-road SUV. And from that point of view, you know what? It's very comfortable. It's nice. Nothing to it.
Yeah, I agree. And now, of course, you got the two different powertrains. They are quite different. We have the 1.5 liter EcoBoost here, and I will say, I won't complain about the power. The 180 horsepower is okay, but the way it delivers it's a little bit weird. When you put your foot into it, you don't really feel very much at all off the line. And then finally the turbo hits and it really jumps. So it's kind of that jumpiness, I would say, that comes out with the 1.5. And then with the 2 liter, that pretty much all goes away. You get decent power off the line, and when that turbo hits, this thing feels really powerful. We were just in the Bronco Sport with the Sasquatch package and the 2 liter EcoBoost off-road. It had plenty of jam out there. So yeah, the engines definitely are different. Overall power is okay though. And then just overall drive, I agree with you, Dad. It drives like a car, which is to say, handles pretty good in the corner, sits nice and low to the ground, and it feels small, easy to drive in, big cities and tight spots.
You know, Steve, there's one thing I got to say about the Bronco Sport, and I got to compliment Ford on really strategic marketing. And what I'm talking about is by calling it the Bronco Sport, when you sell this to somebody, that's the first and last time they ever call it a Bronco Sport. From then on, they will simply say to everybody they know, I drive a Bronco.
Right. Yeah, and that's genius marketing. Question 9, is the Bronco Sport a 3-cylinder? Well, yes, it can have a 3-cylinder engine, and we happen to have it today. That is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder. It makes 181 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through an 8-speed automatic and standard all-wheel drive. Now, if that's not enough power for you, you can also upgrade to the 2 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged EcoBoost engine. That's also an 8-speed auto, also all-wheel drive, but that thing makes 250 horsepower. Question 10, is the Ford Bronco Sport 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? And to answer this, luckily I've been able to put it up on the rack here so we can actually see for ourselves. But first, let me possibly disappoint a few people. What is truly the difference between 4-wheel drive and all-wheel drive? It's just marketing. These are just marketing terms that have taken over, because if you think about the words we're using, they're the same thing. All it means is that power is able to get to all four wheels on a vehicle. Now, I will admit and recognize how that power gets there is very different. And what we think of as sort of traditional four-wheel drive on our old Jeeps and trucks, that is not the same as what we think of as modern all-wheel drive. So what I always recommend to people is don't trust the marketing term. Don't assume things based on whatever they call it, whether that be four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. Learn about your specific vehicle and the hardware on there and how it works, because that will then tell you exactly how that's going to perform in the real world. So all of that being said, let's look here at the Ford Bronco Sport. And this starts with the fact that you have a transverse mounted engine. That's essentially an east to west mounted engine, and that's what we get in our front wheel drive vehicle. So this is front wheel drive based. Primarily, the power is going to the front. But up here on the back side of the transmission, there is what's called a PTU, and that is sending the power down this drive shaft right here into a rear differential. Now this PTU right here can send up to 50% of the engine's power to the back, but it can also fully disconnect. So when you're cruising on the highway, this Bronco Sport will only be sending its power to the front wheels. Why is that? Fuel economy. It wastes fuel to have to spin this drive shaft constantly, and when you're cruising on dry ground, you don't need it. And that is a hallmark of sort of modern all-wheel drive systems as we think about them, is they are automatic. You don't have to change any settings. If this thing detects slip, it will send the power to the back, the PTU will engage, and this drive shaft will start turning, and when you don't need it to, it won't be. So yes, this is what we think of as all-wheel drive, but now you understand a little bit more about how it works. And the last thing I want to mention, here on our more basic Bronco Sport model, in the back, that's just an open differential. Once you step up into the Badlands and up into the Bronco Sport Sasquatch package, you're getting a twin clutch rear differential, and that's going to help split the power left and right. So here in your more basic models, it's only splitting the power front to back, but then when you get up into those more expensive ones, it can also split that rear power from left to right. Question 11, is the Ford Bronco Sport fuel efficient? Well, let me hit you with the NHTSA numbers. So according to the government testing, the Bronco Sport with the 1.5 liter EcoBoost gets 27 miles per gallon combined. That's 25 in the city and 30 on the highway. The Bronco Sport Sasquatch is good for 24 combined, 23 city and 26 on the highway, while the Bronco Sport four-wheel drive with the 2 liter EcoBoost is good for 21 city and 27 highway. And in our time with this Bronco Sport fit with the 1.5 EcoBoost, we are getting 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers, which is 27 miles per gallon. So we're right there on the combined NHTSA rating. And if you're asking my opinion, yeah, that's pretty good fuel economy for this vehicle. Number 12, is the Ford Bronco Sport safe? Well, let's go take a look at some crash test ratings. For safety ratings, I like to look in two different places. First is the IIHS, that's the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. So you can see here, 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Good in small overlap, but only marginal in the updated moderate overlap front test, and acceptable in the side test. Headlights are good. Front crash acceptable. Front crash prevention pedestrian is good. Seatbelt reminders are good. And then the latch ease of use is just acceptable. And then the IIHS does a really good job of outlining all of its tests and exactly what happened. I'm not going to go through all of it right here, but you can see how much detail they put into it. If you've never looked at the IIHS ratings before, you should go take a look at them, because then at the end too, they'll describe exactly what happened to the dummies and why the ratings were given for each vehicle. So that's interesting. And yeah, look, there's even a pour here for the pelvis of the driver in the updated side crash test, so that's not really great. Good overall for the headlights, and even the headlights, they really do measure them, and then there's all the front crash prevention stuff. It tells you exactly what that stuff actually prevented or what it helped the car to avoid. So yeah, some great testing here by IIHS, and overall for Bronco Sport, the safety seems okay, but not perfect in a bunch of areas as well. Now we can go over to NHTSA, and you can see here for the Ford Bronco Sport early release, you're talking about 5 stars in crash test, so 5 out of 5 for frontal, Side crash is 5 out of 5, and rollover is just 4 out of 5. And then yes, you do get a rating breakdown here too by NHTSA as well, and you can download the technical reports. So if you do want to really get into the weeds here and see exactly what was tested and how it was tested, here's all your information from NHTSA too. So yes, it's nice they give us these ratings, but honestly, it's really important and good that they give us all this detail as well. So if you really want to look into these things, you can. So yeah, overall safety on the Ford Bronco Sport seems okay. Number 12, does the Ford Bronco Sport have a spare tire? Well, first of all, let's take a look at this Heritage Edition. And the answer is no. You can see you do get your tire inflator kit right there. So Ford has provided that with you. They have to give you that by law if they're not giving you at least a temporary spare. But yeah, right here, no spare tire. Although you can see there's a spot for one. So on higher trim Ford Bronco Sports, there is a temporary spare that'll be under the floor here. So if you're interested in one of these vehicles, make sure you go check under that floor and see if there is one, because not all the Bronco Sports have a spare tire. Number 13, does the Bronco Sport have a removable roof? The answer is no, it does not. It can get a sunroof like you see here, so you can open up a little bit of your roof up here, but unlike its full-size Ford Bronco 2-door and 4-door brother, no, the roof does not come off the Bronco Sport. Number 14, does the Bronco Sport get a powered liftgate? The answer is no, it does not, but let me show you the features back here, and the coolest one has to be this. You can open the glass independently of the hatch, so if you just need to reach in here real quick, grab something, toss something in, you can do that, and then you grab the button over here that's marked door, and up the hatch goes. So you do get some nice assist shocks, but no, this is not a powered hatch. You still got to come over here and close it yourself. And finally, coming in at number 15, does the Ford Bronco Sport hold its value? Let's dive into that one. Let's talk about how this car retains its value now, and I'm just going to do this for Canadians using Canadian Black Book. So you can see here, I'm saying I'm trading in a 2022 Ford Bronco Sport Outer Banks with 100,000 kilometers on it, and Canadian Black Book says that's going to be between $20,000 and $22,000. Now I pulled up some other vehicles to compare, so we go look at a 2022 Subaru Crosstrek, also 100,000 kilometers, and basically the exact same $20,000 to $22,000. But then we get to the outlier that usually is the Toyota RAV4 when it comes to resale, 100,000 kilometers, and this thing is going to sell for $28,000 to $30,000. So I think the overall point here is that the resale value is not the best in the segment from the Bronco Sport, but it is comparable to some other models. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this video, and I hope you leave this one with a better understanding about this Ford Bronco Sport. So yeah, please now drop in the comments. Let me know what you think about the Bronco Sport and what you think about this video and the format. I like it. I want to keep doing them, but please share your feedback. I want to hear it. And then as always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of our channel, and then come right back here to Truck King and see what we're testing next. See ya.